some questions. It's great to have the chairman of the committee, Senator Cruz, here. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. Welcome to each of the witnesses. Appreciate this hearing on this very important topic. Dr. Mercogliano, let me start with you. The SHIPS Act aims to guarantee annual commercial ship production of 15 to 25 ships per year through subsidies dispersed by a Maritime Security Trust Fund, which would in turn be capitalized by various revenue streams, including new tonnage taxes on international shippers bringing goods into the United States and fines on importers for failing to meet certain ship preferencing requirements. China, South Korea, Japan, meanwhile, each annually deliver hundreds of ships per year. In the face of the advantage of economies of scale that they have and the resulting lower costs they produce, prospects for U.S. shipyards, which face a strained labor pool, high input costs, and serious technological challenges compared to East Asian competitors, the possibility of becoming internationally competitive is at a minimum challenging. Should we assume that large and recurring subsidies, and by extension annually increasing tonnage taxes and fines on importers to fund them, will need to be an enduring feature of U.S. policy to produce the kind of ship production envisioned by the SHIPS Act?
Historically, that's the way it has been done. If you look at the shipbuilding process in World War I and World War II, it was done either through a large appropriation that was put into a corpus, a body of money to draw from, or it was through a subsidy process. I will note that the U.S. is the fourth largest investor in commercial shipping worldwide, even though we have the 23rd largest merchant marine in the world. The question is, how do we get U.S. money to invest in American shipping vice investing in foreign shipping? And I think if we can tackle that hurdle, then we will not be as dependent on government funding for shipbuilding because we can get that investment into U.S. ships.
So how would you answer the question you just posed? How do we get U.S. money to invest in shipbuilding here at home?
I think we need to change and look at how Korea, Japan, and many other countries give either tax deferments or opportunities for long-term leases or loans, so that you can invest. You know, investing in a ship, you're not going to see a ship for 4 to 5 years. What can we do to offset that, and especially for a shipping company, to minimize their downside, their loss capability should cargo not appear? I mean, we could do processes whereby ships could be turned back into the government if there's no business for them, put into the reserve fleet, basically provide them a minimal loss coverage so that there is more willingness to invest in that. Key thing is getting incentives from Wall Street and venture capitalists to get into this so that we're not relying wholly on the U.S. government for funding.
So why did we lose shipbuilding to begin with? What are the challenges? What are the impediments that we face to domestic shipbuilding?
I think we didn't lose shipbuilding, we shifted our shipbuilding. We decided to focus on naval and military and allow the commercial to go overseas because we viewed that naval capability was a much more larger capability to have, and we assumed that there was going to be a residual left over from that. However, what we saw happen, especially in the 80s into the 90s, with the end of the Cold War, it went from a 600-ship Navy to a 300-ship Navy. All of a sudden, our capacity decreased. And we really did not foresee a really coordinated effort by the Chinese to take over and continue in a way that we really have never seen before. Some people make the comparison to the British, but China has done a pure vertical integration of all aspects of shipping in a way unlike any other country has done.
And let me open this up to the rest of the panel. What steps do you think are most important to reinvigorate the commercial shipbuilding industry here in the United States? Mr. Paxton, we'll start with you. I'll give everyone a chance to answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it comes down to, sir, that sustained long-term demand signal, that we're serious about owning our own global logistics. Being dependent on 3 shipping companies around the world for our trade makes us a client state. That's a vulnerability. We are at a national security. When we saw this during COVID, you guys, this committee had to work on the Ocean Reform Act because China wasn't taking our exports. We should own our global logistics to a certain extent. And I think this concept of a strategic commercial fleet under the SHIPS Act makes sense. I would say, sir, There is a lot of capital that's sitting on the sidelines. If there was a demand signal there, I see private industry coming to the shipbuilding industry. You see it in the autonomous space with Saronic and Blue Autonomy. These things are happening, and they're happening in your state as well, sir.
They are indeed. Mr. Vogel?
Mr. Chairman, I would absolutely say creating that demand signal for private investment, removing the regulatory constraints that we have on commercial shipyards can work together to rebalance the international shipbuilding
When you
market.
say regulatory constraints, what in particular are impediments that, if removed, would unleash shipbuilding?
Mr. Chairman, I think there are twofold. As Dr. Mercogliano said, we moved into government shipbuilding, but there are a huge number of government ships that can be built on a commercial model basis using things like Vessel Construction Manager, getting us out of the legacy shipbuilding, using all the constraints of federal acquisition, instead relying on commercial practices and commercial suppliers in order to build up our capacity. And we need to focus on the full supply chain. We need to focus on engine manufacturers that we have, including in your state, support them so that they can reduce their costs and ultimately reduce the cost of ships. Companies like Tote and our parent company Sawchuck are ready to put private capital to use as well. There are platforms out there like the roll-on, roll-off vessels that need to be recapitalized in our ready reserve force, like the cable lay ships that we need for the Navy that could be paid for with private capital if we had the right charter agreements in place and that right assurance of that long-term investment from the government to operate those vessels.
Ms. Snow, briefly.
Allocations of funds to small shipyard grants and to training programs and apprenticeship programs across the U.S.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Cantwell.